Hi, welcome. You're at Sustainable Braintree's webinar. Let's do our intro slides. Okay, let's see. Can I have a confirmation that you see our title slide? Good, okay. Sustainable Braintree. Yeah, so it's September 29th, and this is a free community webinar. Today's guest speaker is Louise Quigley. She is a member of the Sustainable Braintree Steering Committee, and she's going to talk to us today about how to start a more environmentally friendly plant-based diet. This is our website, sustainablebraintree.org. We keep it updated with current events and ideas for helping you live a more sustainable, earth-friendly lifestyle. We have social media accounts, so if you're not following us already, please go take a look at those. Our Instagram is our newest social media member, and we try to post really fun things there for you. And we do encourage anyone who wants to contribute to become a member. So we are a nonprofit and sustained by memberships and donations. So it's a very budget-friendly yearly fee to donate and become a member. And after the webinar starts, I'll put the link to join into the chat box. So a quick reading of our mission statement. We usually start all of our meetings of our mission statement. Sustainable Braintree is a community advocacy group committed to helping Braintree residents, community groups, businesses, and local government conserve energy, promote clean and renewable energy, protect and restore the environment, and live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. And I think you'll find that the subject of today's talk really does fit that mission very nicely. We have 5 focus areas: energy and climate, water reduction and protection, waste reduction and recycling, community gardening, and conservation and protection of natural areas. We're still looking for, if any of you in the audience are interested in helping us out, we still need a helper to be a liaison with the South Shore, Sustainable South Shore. So you can reach out to us or reach out to me, and we would love to help you get involved. We're always looking for new people to get involved with our group. So with that, I'm going to bring up Louise and her presentation. So Louise, I will give you a verbal cue when you're ready. All right. Share this. Okay, Louise, we're ready for you.
Okay. Well, good evening, and thank you for joining us. Just a few years ago, I was working to explain to people why they might consider eating more plants and less animals. Now, there really seems to have grown up a general awareness that animal agriculture, and especially factory farms, also called confined animal feeding operations, CAFOs, factory farms. Cue the image of the horrible factory farm here. But we're still looking at there we go, are a huge part of the problems of greenhouse gas emissions and climate change and air pollution and water pollution and deforestation to grow feed for the animals, insect apocalypse from the chemicals sprayed on the feed crops, not to mention humane issues with animal confinement. Plus, there's a growing awareness that human health improves with eating lots of produce and whole grains and less sugar and white flour and processed foods and animal fats. Next slide. So now people's questions are much less about why to look at a plant-based diet and much more about how to go about doing it. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Let's start with some definitions, because there's a huge range in plant-based dietary regimens. At one end of the scale are the vegans. Vegans eat no animal foods at all. Or you can eat plants plus some eggs, that's ovo-vegetarian. Or you can eat plants plus some dairy, that's lacto-vegetarian. There are people who are ovo-lacto-vegetarians, they eat plants and some eggs and dairy. Some people eat plants plus some fish, pescatarians. And they may or may not eat eggs and or dairy. Some people are flexitarian, which means that they do eat some meat, but either only little bits for flavoring in some foods, or they might eat meat as a main course, but only once or twice a week. So there's all kinds of variations. At one point, my daughter aimed to become vegan except for dessert. In other words, there are a lot of different ways to go about eating a plant-based diet. The key is, however you do it, to make most of your food plants, and somewhere between 0 and at most 10 or 15% of it should be animal foods of any kind. So then that's what we're talking about. The question is, how do you go about doing it? I'd start to make next slide, by making a point about nutrition. Because actually eating mostly plants is much better nutrition than a standard American diet. Because if your diet includes a lot of different vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, peas, nuts, seeds, soy foods, and a little bit of healthy plant oil, you're getting a ton of vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, and protein, actually. People used to always question us about the protein, but protein comes from the beans, the peas, the nuts, the nut butters, seeds, tofu, tempeh, and now there's a lot of different really palatable fake meats. You even get protein from your dark leafy greens. Really don't have to worry about it. Other concerns with vegetarian and vegan diets are vitamin D. Your sources are sunlight on exposed skin, and fortified milks and plant milks and supplements. Iron, which you get from a lot of from dark leafy greens, and also from beans, which are best eaten with a vitamin C source for better absorption. Zinc is a concern, but it's very available from nuts and seeds. And then there's vitamin B12, for which vegans need to take a supplement. But all the other nutrients are actually better supplied by a plant-based diet than a vegetarian, all the other nutrients are better supplied by a plant-based diet than a standard American diet, which tends to be heavy on animal foods and white flour and very shy on fiber and a lot of vitamins and minerals. Also, you notice there's a nice image of a wheat kernel. You should go for whole grains rather than refined ones. And if you're talking nutrition, that's important. Making white rice or white flour strips out a ton of vitamins and minerals and fiber. And with wheat, it even takes out some of the protein. And then they say, oh, well, we'll just fortify it. They add a small number of vitamins and minerals back in to wheat flour. They don't even try to fortify rice. And it only replaces a small percentage of what they took out and provides it in less absorbable form than what was removed. It just does not compensate for the losses. The idea that you can make white flour or white rice and then just add a few vitamins to it is based on science that is extremely old and long superseded. There really is no substitute for whole grains. So maximize your whole grains. But generally speaking, nutritionally speaking, the short answer is that basically, if you get a good variety of whole foods, mostly, if not all plants, while minimizing sugar, white flour, and processed foods, you're good to go. So, with that out of the way, again, obviously, there are many different ways to eat. Yeah, go to the next slide. To eat a plant-based diet. If you go flexitarian and do eat meat, try to eat only pasture-raised and humane certified. You find that in health food stores and whole food stores, you'll find labels on the packaging. If there's a butcher, you can ask the butcher, how is this meat raised? And, you got to weigh their answers. If they say, oh, we do fine here, that doesn't tell you much. If they can give you specifics, what we get from this and such kind of farms and this and such certifications, that's getting clearer. You can also find this kind of meat at farmers markets where you can talk to the farmer, who may even have pictures of the farm. If you go and make a computer search for pasture-raised meat Boston area, it'll turn up several options, at least one of which advertises that they deliver to your door. Others, you may have to go make a trip to pick it up. But these are ways to find out how the animals are raised. You want raised on pasture, you want humanely raised. Seek out organic and regenerative grazing practices, either by reading labels or websites or by asking the farmer. What regenerative grazing, regenerative rotational grazing, what that's all about. It means that they keep the animals together in one piece of a pasture, and then they keep moving them around to different parts of the field so that each part of the pasture is lightly grazed and the turf remains, and it's no part of it is overgrazed, and the turf remains healthy and full of soil microorganisms, which draw down carbon out of the atmosphere. What was I? So regenerative grazing results in a healthy turf that sequesters carbon, which almost offsets some of the animals' greenhouse emissions. Beef, by the way, are the absolutely by far worst emitters of greenhouse gases, mostly through belching, it turns out. Whereas, chicken and even pork are, if they're raised on pasture, are more or less a wash. And also, of course, this kind of way of raising the animals enables them, it resolves a lot of the humane issues around eating animals, because they still get slaughtered, but at least until that point, they live comfortable, natural lives. So those are some of the considerations if you're eating meat at all. And then, of course, the other part of a plant-based diet is if you go flexitarian and eat a little meat, a little bit of meat not a lot of meat, even if it's, humanely raised and all that. Now, if you eat fish and seafood, you want to, again, try to seek out sustainably caught and or sustainably raised varieties. There are huge problems with most fish farming. Do we have a fish slide? I don't remember. Okay. Problems with fish farming include terrible overcrowding and concentrated waste and antibiotic use. The fish can get sick and the diseases can spread outside of the pens, especially because there are regular escapes of farmed fish, which may be bioengineered, or they may be sick, or they may be oversized and therefore outcompete normal fish for mates. It's a mess. On the other hand, there are fish setups that are very acceptable and environmentally helpful. For example, a greenhouse where they raise lettuce and tilapia, which is a freshwater fish, together. The tilapia droppings fertilize the greens and it all, and so it all kind of works together. And that's very environmentally friendly. Farmed shellfish and farmed seaweed are environmentally good. So you want to look for varieties that are not overfished or are caught with that are not overfished, not caught with gill nets or bottom trawlers. But line caught abundant species are okay. There are several groups that certify. Let's see, I think it's the Monterey. No, it's the Marine Stewardship Council. Apparently certifies some seafood products. Groups like Sierra Club, Monterey Bay Aquarium, and Environmental Working Group all have lists of seafood. Do we have an image of this? No. Okay, we don't. Oh, but we have a example of that kind of a list on the top there, I see. Okay, and it lists things as best choice, okay, avoid, green, yellow, red. And as it happens, as far as I can tell, they all the lists are different, but you can kind of get kind of an idea. And get a general idea from them. I should say that you will indeed find that if you choose animal food options in these ways, it's going to cost noticeably more than buying cheap factory farmed meat and fish and dairy and eggs. But if you're going plant-based, you're planning on minimizing the amount of animal foods. So it's still not gonna, if you're eating a lot less meat, say 4 ounces of chopped meat for flavor instead of a 16-ounce T-bone, or eggs once a week instead of every day, then buying the more expensive types of it really should not be a budget buster. So how do you do just bits? Use, like I said, 3 or 4 ounces of meat to flavor a soup or a stew, or a chili or a stir fry, instead of meat being the main ingredient. And then to compensate, you increase the proportion of vegetables. If you want to have meat as a star of the meal, do it just once or twice a week. For main dishes, the rest of the time, one thing you can do is try ethnic cuisines. Thai cuisine, Indian, Chinese, Middle Eastern cuisines, all are by their nature include many vegetarian options, and with the Asian cuisines, those are very often vegan, because most Asians can't digest dairy. So their traditional cuisines tend not to have it. As you explore ethnic cuisine, you start using more herbs and spices. And those are ways to add flavor and compensate for losing the meat flavor. Try the Mediterranean diet, or the closely related vine diet. I think we have a slide of that. There we go. The mind diet is close. It's kind of a variation on the Mediterranean diet, tweaked to enhance mental acuity. And I only know about it because I found a book on it in the Braintree Library. So Mediterranean diet, as you probably know, tends to feature a lot of vegetables and fruits, whole grains, a little bit of fish, olive oil, and a little wine. And make it whole grains, and it fits right into a healthy plant-based kind of a diet. Sometimes you'll find that there are multiple variations of a particular kind of a dish, and some are meaty and some are not meaty. So Middle Eastern stuffed grape leaves, you can often get them stuffed either with meat or with rice and herbs. So you indulge in the stuffed grape leaves that are vegetarian. I have my copy of The Joy of Cooking has multiple potato salad recipes. The German one uses bacon, the French one is vegan, so that's the one that I make. You can eat a meatless pizza. Do we have a pizza image? We have various images. You can eat a meatless pizza with veggie toppings, and have less cheese rather than covered with cheese. So you have a little bit of cheese, but not a lot. You could also have it with maybe the fake meat pepperoni if you want that meatiness. Try to get most of your calories from the many foods that are vegan by nature, like fruits, vegetables, salads, most breads and rolls, chips, crackers, some sauces and dips like guacamole or salsa, nuts and Gorp trail mix. There are prepared fake meats and fake cheese, which have gotten very good in the last few years. You can have rice and lentil or rice and bean dishes. Those are all just naturally plant-based. I make something called Hoppin' John, which is a black-eyed pea and rice dish, served traditionally in the South on New Year's Day for luck in the coming year. So the traditional recipe calls for bacon or pork fat. So instead, I use store-bought fake bacon, and it's great. The fake bacon adds in some fattiness and some saltiness and some flavoring, and it makes good food. It may not be quite the same as actual bacon, but it's good. This actually brings up easy substitutions. I also use fake bacon in my split pea soup. I use broth rather than water when I make a soup. If you're eliminating the meat, you need something to add back in some flavor. I use vegetable broth when the recipe calls for chicken broth or beef broth. I use vegetable broth, no problem. And it does the same job. I use olive oil instead of butter for sauteing. So any restaurant that says saute is in so much butter, I use olive oil, and it's an easy substitution. If it comes to that, when I started, vegan mayonnaise did not exist, but now it does. So, and you can buy that in the store. You can make chili with onions, peppers, celery, tomatoes, spices, and beans without the meat. And it tastes just like chili. When you think about it, the fact that there's something called chili con carne, that means with meat, obviously means that the basic chili was without meat. And you have, when you add in meat, then you say con carne. The meat is an optional additive anyway. Instead of a meat and vegetable stir fry with stir fry sauce, make a tofu and vegetable stir fry with stir fry sauce. And put it over brown rice, please. Because if you put enough sauce on rice or spaghetti sauce on pasta, you can't tell the difference. And that becomes a great way to add whole grains to your diet. So these are some of the general principles for finding and developing plant-based dishes. But let's look at ideas for meals. For breakfast, you can have fruit. You can have fruit juice, coffee, tea. You can have soy milk or other plant milks, breads, toasts. There are very nice vegan muffins out there now. Hot cereals, cold cereals, preferably without too much sugar in them. Fruit vegetable smoothies, tofu scramble, fake meat breakfast sausage. Actually, most traditional breakfast foods are vegetarian anyway. Then there's lunch. For lunch, one good sandwich is the old peanut butter and jelly. But I sometimes make a sandwich with hummus and lettuce, with maybe a little onion and mustard. You can make a sandwich with fake meat slices. There are actually fake cheeses that melt like real cheese now that you can use to make a grilled fake cheese sandwich. This time of year, throw a little tomato on, a slice of tomato on it. You can have pizza for lunch. You can have falafel, which is Middle Eastern chickpea balls together with salad and tahini in a wrap. And there's an image of it over there in the middle on top. You can have soup and salad and roll. You can make salad into a meal if it includes pasta or croutons or a roll on the side, plus chickpeas or nuts or fake sausage slices. And then you've got a complete meal in there. You can have tofu scramble with toast. You can have fake hot dogs or fake burgers on a bun with a veggie side. In our house, we often plan to have a dish for dinner that's going to make 4 servings, and there's only 2 of us, so we plan to have the rest of it for lunch the next day or the day after. So leftovers. Sometimes for a quickie meal, we have edamame and a baked potato, and that's a quickie meal for us. Go on to dinner. You can have a bean and vegetable soup and add bread or rolls. You can have chili over rice, add a salad if you want. You can make a tofu and vegetable stir fry with stir fry sauce over rice. You can make spaghetti with meatless balls, baked meatballs and tomato sauce. You can have rice and lentil pilaf with a veggie on the side. If you have more money than time, you can do takeout from an ethnic restaurant, or you can find in the frozen food section quite a few different vegetarian or vegan frozen dinners. Like I said, that's kind of a little more expensive than cooking from scratch, but it's quick. And sometimes that convenience is worth it. I have a recipe for beans bourguignon over rice instead of beef bourguignon. It uses pinto beans, and it's delicious. Serve that with a veggie side. Black beans and rice with salad or a vegetable. Tacos, either bean tacos or fake chop meat, or a taco salad. You can have a pasta salad with a protein side like a fake sausage. Stuffed peppers, there's an image of them there. In our house, the stuffing is rice and fake chopped meat with an onion and tomato and oregano and salt. I make a potato chickpea dish, and you can serve that with bread or rolls. There's something called fool, which is a Middle Eastern fava bean dish. Serve that over rice or in a wrap with a veggie side. So there's a number of different options. You don't need to be bored. For desserts, I often just have a piece of fruit or some fruit for dessert, or dried fruit, or cookies or cake, or you can get cupcakes that are either vegan, any of those baked goods. You can get vegan varieties or ovo-lacto. You can get sorbet or ice cream or vegan ice cream or sherbet, candied nuts. Desserts are generally vegetarian, not that often vegan, but they can be. Just go easy on the whipped cream and candy. For snacks, there's fruit, there's nuts, there's crackers, there's corn chips, there's potato chips, there's trail mixes, dried fruits, some energy bars. So, to make a long story short, there are lots of plant foods to eat, and there are lots of ways to put them together into nourishing and tasty meals. So you can eat a plant-based diet and you do not need to go hungry. A lot of good things out there to try. And now I will take questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, we're going to take some questions. So you have two choices. You can either raise your hand and I'll call your name and you can turn on your mic. Or if you don't want to do that, you can ask your question into the chat box and I'll read your question. Okay, so we'll start. Anne.
Yes, ma'am. Louise, that was awesome. It was awesome. You are always awesome. This was very awesome. And so I have a couple questions, of course. And so in addition to having had many thoughts of going towards a plant-based diet. Let me see. I've also been working towards losing a number of pounds, and a lot of the combinations you put together seemed like it could have just been my interpretation, but they seemed a bit carbohydrate heavy, or sort of carbohydrate oriented. And I love carbs. If I was on an island, I'd live on carbs, but I wouldn't get skinny that way. But the thing I know, right? But the thing I want to know is, I've thought about using the Mediterranean diet as a place to start now, because it does seem to generally be real healthy. And it seemed like that was something you were commenting on.
One of the ways to go.
And so a couple of things, like you were mentioning some of these additives, whether it was, you know, as I think you call them, fake meat, fake cheese, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Are they very high? A quick question. Are they very high in sodium, or are they very high in other, not chemicals, but
Yeah,
same
they're
sort
not. It's true that the fake meats tend to be very highly processed. Some of them are high in sodium, some of them are high in fat. Chuck and I really enjoy, for example, the Beyond Meat sausages. And what I do is I put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then another 30 seconds, and then I use a bunch of paper towels to sop up the incredible amount of oil that has then come out of them. And then we eat them, and they taste delicious. Yes, so it's certainly true that it's a lot of the fake meats, they may be high in fat, they may be high in sodium. You'll have to read the labels to decide which of them are palatable for, which of them suit your dietary needs. Don't worry about the carbs, worry about the refined carbs.
like French dinner rolls, for example.
White flour is gonna, and the white rice is gonna pack on the pounds.
Right.
The whole grains are full of fiber. Not so much the bread where the fiber has been all ground up, but brown rice, corn chips, corn tortillas or tacos, oatmeal, barley as an ingredient in a soup. All those kinds of things that are whole grain are full of fiber, and that greatly alters how your body uses them. And whether your body says, oh, calories, yum, yum, or says, oh, okay, send those down to the good gut bugs to grind up and get rid of some of the stuff.
But thank you. But the Mediterranean diet would be a reasonable place to start.
Yes, it would. It definitely would. Like I said, just make sure that the grains are as much whole grains as you can manage. With the wheat, with flours where the fiber is being ground up, I'm not sure how much usable fiber you get, but at least you're still getting all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you a fan, Louise, of the substitution of cauliflower for some white rice or other carb substitutes?
Oh, cauliflower is a whole food. White rice is not. So as far as that goes, that would be a consideration. My own story is that I first became aware of the difference between refined and whole grains when I was pregnant, early in my pregnancy. And at that point, I tried whole grains. And because I was pregnant and my pregnant body wanted all those nutrients, it was an instant and painless switch. And by the time I gave birth, my tastes had changed and I never went back. People who are not pregnant might need to try a thing a few times to develop the taste for it. But like I said, you put enough sauce on it and I can't tell the difference. So that's another, whole grain. With spaghetti and pastas generally, they have to make it with the right kind of wheat for it to be palatable. They make it with red wheat, it's not good. But if they make it with durum wheat, it's just fine. So getting into the whole grains is a learning experience for most Americans because we've been raised on white flour and white rice. But it can be done and it's worth doing. And once you make the switch, you don't want to go back. But yeah, cauliflower, quote, rice is a way to have a whole food, which is a vegetable instead of a grain. The nutritional profile of vegetables is different from the nutritional profile of grains, but whole grains and whole food vegetables are both good food. Other questions?
Keep thinking of questions. Here's one. Are there other fish that are using like tilapia or would we know which tilapia is raised that way?
Okay, tilapia is a freshwater fish and tends to be farmed and seems to be, as far as I've been able to pick up, environmentally suitable. However they do it. It's raised in ponds or in containers. Yeah, the fish is, I don't eat fish, but I've tried to research how to figure out which are good fish to eat and which are bad fish to eat. They say that wild caught Pacific salmon are an abundant species and environmentally all right. But then farmed salmon would not be. Atlantic salmon are overfished. It gets, you need to do research and know what you're doing. Yeah.
You had mentioned tilapia being co-raised with lettuce. Is that right?
Yeah,
How would we know that it's done that in the store? Like, is there a
we
label?
don't, unless it says so. There's a place, or there was a place when I was living there in Milwaukee that was pioneering that as a business. A couple of places were doing that. And I don't know whether that's taken off or not. But the fish and the greens kind of have this kind of symbiotic relationship, and it works out for everybody. But no, I don't know how you would know, except unless you can find the person who grew it to ask. Yeah.
Anyone else have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, once again.
And
Well, Louise, on those evenings when you're not available.
Yeah.
So let's see, if you wanted to have a good reference book on this, like maybe a good cookbook or a good, like sometimes, there's like those, I love 3-ring binders, but 3-ring binder cookbooks, so you could take the page out, reference the recipe, whatever.
Yeah.
But they also have reference sections in them on, some of the things you're talking about, like where to get some of the fish or the vegetables or, whatever. But aside from you and maybe Elizabeth, aside from the two of you, are there particular books or cookbooks that, you think would be a worthy
Yeah, if you go in a bookstore and look for cookbooks, there should be a section of vegetarian cookbooks.
Right. But there's not one particular one that you've used that you particularly like.
Well, there's the one I wrote.
Did you really?
There was an image of it in the slides, food pyramid feast. But also I put together some recipes that I mentioned in my talk. Mike, did you get that? I tried to email it to you. Okay, so then that should be able to become available on our website. So that's a few things to start out with.
Right, right.
And like at this point, I'm sorry to say that I don't have any one cookbook that I go to as reference. What I tend to have is a bunch of pieces of paper where I've written down recipes that I have modified from other places or developed in some way.
So I think we should have a potluck dinner one night, and we should pay you and Liz to cater some of these favorites and have the recipes there. And you charge us like, $100. I don't know. That would be fun to do. But anyway, another topic. But thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we have some recipes that we've supplied, and then, like I said, take the time you need to go in a bookstore and pick up a book that says it's vegetarian recipes and look through it and see if it looks like stuff that you could make. And you'll find something.
Yeah.
Most vegetarian cookbooks have a chili recipe or two, there's a number of standards that some soups. We often have a good soup as a meal and then add, corn chips or something.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Elizabeth, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for this fantastic topic. Louise, that was excellent. I was listening as I was coming home in my car, and then I switched over once I was stationary. And this is my absolute favorite topic. So this was excellent. And your food items look amazing. And I can't wait to look at your recipe book. One thing I was going to suggest in terms of where I find recipes when I first started out, and now it's my go-to. Although I don't really cook, I give it to my husband and he makes it. I'm very lucky. But Plant Strong, and that is by the Esselstyns, and they're an amazing a medical family, an athletic family, a fit family. They started, and so most of a lot of these sites, the really good ones, will have all kinds of free content because they really are trying to spread good health. So Plant Strong is one. The Cornell, the Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. Louise, you must have heard of them. They have these great certifications. I did 2 of their plant-based and sustainability certifications. And they have a ton of recipes that are widely available. And then my third go-to is, do you know Dr. Michael Greger?
Yeah.
Love him. So what he does is he takes studies that you're never going to sit down and read ever. And he breaks down a study and does like a 3-minute video on it. It's phenomenal. So if you ever want to find out why is everybody talking about, why don't I want farm raised fish versus freshwater, or why don't I, he will actually show you the data and the research. And it's all freely available on his site.
Yeah, and for that matter, as I don't use it myself, but my understanding is that if you do a computer search for any kind of food, you'll turn up a ton of recipes.
Yeah.
So that would be another way to do it.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, what was the name of that? Let's see.
The Esselstyns, that's Plant Strong.
Okay.
The Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, they're attached to Cornell.
Okay.
And Dr. Michael Greger, he's nutritionfacts.org.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing those great resources, Elizabeth.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Bethany Brown, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I try and eat, things that are ethically both like in terms of the environment, but in terms of cultural issues. And I've recently heard that like quinoa has become so popular that it's harming the local populations that
Yeah.
have relied on it for millennia. And I would love to hear like your thoughts on that, and like, how to make sure that I'm like in taking care of my family, I'm not harming other people in the process.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I also have heard that there was quinoa suddenly got so popular that up in the Andes where they were growing it, they were being, it was becoming a problem for them, and they were being kind of pushed out. So that is indeed a concern. I do not know. I really don't know what's going on with that as much as I should, since I never got heavily into eating quinoa. It isn't something I've researched very carefully. One would hope that it would become possible for quinoa to be raised in other places so that it could be available without being, destructive to people's ways of life. But I really can't tell you what's happened with that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But I appreciate your concern, and it is a concern. Fortunately, there are so many good foods that the other grains that you can eat, that we can still be fed even if we don't eat quinoa.
All right.
Can I ask a quick question, Louise? If about, you mentioned like sauces and gravies making everything taste great.
Oh, yeah.
Again, do either you or Elizabeth, either one of you, do you have a we'll call it a go-to, either that you make yourself? I mean, obviously you can put butter on anything, and that always makes it taste great with butter and garlic too. But but is there anything a bit more healthy, if you will, that you like, either you or Elizabeth? What do you put on tofu, for example?
I did not include my grilled tofu and ginger beans recipe because it's kind of a pain in the neck to make, although it's worth it. But there's a marinade that I marinate the tofu in and then grill it.
Oh, nice.
So that tofu by itself is basically tasteless.
Right.
I confess I go to the store and I buy peanut sauce in a jar from the store, or hoisin sauce in a jar from the store. That I use store-bought sauces. That's what I do for tofu.
Okay.
What do you do, Elizabeth?
So what I find, and this is just kind of a general rule, however you are going to have your meat sandwich or your meat dish or your meat with rice, you use the same condiments, the same spices, the same side dishes, the same everything. What's changed is there just isn't part of an animal on your plate. And so whether it's tofu, whether you're using, because there's a myth too, and Louise touched on this, that there's a myth that if you don't have meat, you're not going to get protein, and that's just not true at all. Protein, vegetables are full of protein, grains, everything is full of protein. The only reason animals have protein is because they eat plants.
Consider the elephant and the gorilla.
Yeah.
They're both vegan.
Get out. No way. No,
Yes.
no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Uh,
it's true.
yeah.
They eat bacon and eggs for breakfast. Come on.
Not in the
Yeah.
wild.
No,
Yeah.
that's, yeah, not in the wild for sure.
That's me.
So if I'm going, all of the extra things are what become more of the meal. So if
Right.
it's, I'm trying to think, we will have rice, we will have baked potatoes, we
Yep.
will have, what are some of the other chickpeas? So all of those kinds of good things. And then it depends on what I'm going to mix with it. There's a lot of, I might get a black bean burger and cut it up and mix it in. Might
Yeah.
get a Beyond Burger, cut it up, sprinkle it on. There's plant-based, and some of these are full of sodium and oil and everything else, and some of them are not. And so you just have to get good at reading the packages, and they all pretty much taste the same. They all work the same. They're all like there's ground, plant-based grounds that are like sausage,
Yeah.
like ground sausage, like ground turkey, like ground beef, but it's all just ground plants,
Yeah.
processed the way the beef is processed. So when you think about eating processed food, yeah, it is still being processed, but so is the bacon and eggs that you just talked about. So is the burger, so is everything else. So trust me, anything that's processed that's vegan is not as
It's
bad.
Yeah, it's certainly environmentally much better to eat a Beyond Burger or
Yeah.
or a fake or a not dog. Is much. You want to ideally have both the environmental goodies and the
Yeah.
nutritional goodies.
You guys,
But the thing is about processed foods, we eat some, but we minimize it as if it were meat. We'll have burgers once in a couple of weeks rather than every other day.
Mhm.
That is Beyond Meat burgers. We'll have I try to have beans most days, so we'll have a bean soup, and then that'll be lunch the next day, and then maybe there'll be a fake meat for that supper, but then the next day there will be something with beans again.
Mhm.
And there are, there's a lot of about dozens, if not hundreds of different kinds of vegetarian burgers now. Some of them are bean burgers, some of them are soy burgers. The Beyond Meat uses pea protein, so that there's just a ton of choices. Explore, enjoy.
Do you guys, just a quick thing, do you I'm sure neither of you drink cow milk, but do either of you drink either almond or soy milk?
Soy milk.
Soy milk. How about you, Elizabeth?
I drink all the fake milks.
All the- yeah.
I use them all in coffee and
Yeah,
shakes and
One is like the almond is probably more fattening than the soy, right?
Read the labels.
yeah, it all depends.
Read the labels.
Right.
And if it's all if it has all kinds of flavorings and sugar, it'll be not as good for you as the basic plain, but it will taste better.
Yeah.
I just found this book in the Braintree Library, and it includes a whole chapter on eating for the environment, and the first thing they tell you is eat less meat. But they also mention the different kinds of milk substitutes, and if I can find the spot, it was suggesting that that soy and oat milk are environmentally preferable to almond.
Never heard of oat milk.
Yeah, or almond or
Oat
rice.
milk is the
something
creamiest.
else.
Is
But
it?
it
Cool.
didn't mention, there was another one, it didn't mention flax. I mean,
Yeah.
read the labels.
Sounds like I need a field trip for research here, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, plan on, give yourself a couple of hours to go to
Right.
the grocery and read the labels.
Mhm,
The,
mhm.
and that's what one does when one is changing one's diet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this has been great. So I think we have to think about a potluck. I make a meat and pumpkin bisque that is really quite yummy for the fall. So I'm just, if you need to put that on the agenda, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, one last thing before we go. We know of a local salsa company, which turns out really yummy stuff. But this Bethany put in the question, she's a busy person. She wants to find great prepared meals. What is your favorite spot to find vegan or vegetarian dishes local to Braintree?
Chuck and I, when we were first exploring moving here, we came for a week and we got a pass for the tea for unlimited riding, and we went to the ends of all the lines to see what the different neighborhoods looked like. And when we came to Braintree, we were just walking around. It was lunchtime. We fell into Asiana, and it was just, we had a great meal, and Asiana is our favorite restaurant ever
It's
since.
so funny.
They had its Thai cuisine, and like many such restaurants, it has a whole section of plant-based foods. Another one we like is Turmeric House. That's Indian cuisine.
What is it?
Turmeric House. It's in Quincy. That's, I think it's Quincy, unless it it's on
It's
53.
in Weymouth.
It's in Weymouth. Okay, yeah. But explore different ethnic restaurants and find out which one you really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I tend to go, I get sushi. I'll get, California avocado rolls, cucumber rolls for takeout sushi. I pretty much, because I am very lazy and I'm not a great cook, so I pretty much know every vegan dish that can be had here in Braintree. So I won't go on about it, but there's something at a number of good restaurants. Lychee Bistro, I do want to put in a plug for them. They have vegan items, because a lot of places will have accidentally vegan items, which are the best because they're just good dishes. And so Lychee Bistro has a marinated grilled tofu, which is delicious. They have fried, they have popcorn tofu, which are also excellent. They have so they have a couple of vegan items, right? Spicy edamame. And so even Uno's has vegan cheese pizzas, because they use vegan cheese and they use Beyond toppings. So you can go to Uno's and order from the menu and get, so these are not the things that you'd want to do all the time, because they're, those are splurges really, to go out and get a $20-something pizza. But it's big, it's hearty, it's delicious, it's full of vegetables, and it's not dairy, and it's not meat. So there's a lot of good places.
Louise, you mentioned scrambled tofu.
Yeah.
I always thought tofu was solid. What do I know? So where does one find scramblable tofu?
You buy a block of tofu and you crumble it into a bowl, and you
scramble it?
that, and I'm trying to remember. I think tofu scramble was one of the recipes I put on.
Cool. Yeah.
What I do is, there's some vegetables there's like cut up cherry tomatoes in it and some other
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but it's delicious.
You guys are great. This is Louise, awesome. Elizabeth, thank you giantly. So
Absolutely. Hey, if anyone's interested in doing a challenge, that's how I went vegan. I did a 21-day challenge about, it was almost 7 years ago. And I didn't have any sort of end goal. I just wanted to make it through 21 days and I never went back.
oh,
I
and you-
had
and
a
that.
different
You did that.
story. Chuck was vegan. He had gone vegan way back in 1982, years before I met him, because he was pretty unhealthy, and he got his health back to a very great degree just by dropping all the cholesterol containing foods and going on a low-fat vegan diet.
Yep.
So when we got married, he wasn't going to change. I had to adapt. And he was a widower, and his first wife had died, and after a long illness, and he was a caretaker and working and taking care of their daughter. So he didn't have time to cook. He would cook up this big pot of beans and rice and vegetables and freeze it in segments and eat the whole thing and eat the same thing every single night. And I was not going to live that way. So I had to figure out how to cook a variety of different foods that he could eat.
Yeah.
So pretty soon we were eating dinner together, but not breakfast and lunch. So dinner was vegan. But my breakfast and lunch wasn't necessarily. But some days he was home for lunch, and then I was eating vegan 2 times a day. And then we would go out to a restaurant, and I would have a dish with meat, and he would have something vegan. But sometimes the vegetarian dish looked better than the meat dishes. So gradually over time, I was eating less and less and less meat and more and more plants. And one day I was in a restaurant and I was eating something with meat, and I really wasn't enjoying it. I had lost my taste for meat because it had gotten to be something I ate so seldom. So I said, well, if I'm not enjoying it, why should I do it? So that was, I believe the last time I ate meat was in 2000.
Wow.
Crazy.
Good for you. So let's all finish with a round of applause for Louise. Thank you so much. Good work, Louise. With that, I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for joining us.